Welcome to another video by the Artful Coder. Today we're going to explore what is OOP. In short, it stands for Object Orientated Programming. And by that I mean it is a way of modelling real world things, if you like, say a phone or a book, in code, a person. So what I want to do is just look at a bit of that today. So I want to get my code editor open. And if we just go to Visual Studio, so it's a way of, as I said, it's a way of modeling things in the world when you want to translate them into computer code. So let's just go here. Okay, so what do we get? Let's have a look. Okay, so it's got to load up. Second. So yeah, so you can have things like, like you might have parents who you inherited certain genetic traits from them, etc., and things like that. Well, this is what this allows us to do. Is this hasn't done anything? Okay, let's do new project. I thought that's what that would do, but it's obviously not. So let's do project. So get a project, and we'll just create a simple console application. Just demonstrate this subject. Okay, here we go. So let's just create a simple console application. So let's call this OOP models. And this may form part of a bigger solution. So we'll just do that. So you can choose your framework in .NET, but again, you can do this in any language you want as well. So we do create. So we'll create a project. Okay. Give a second. Okay, so what have we got here? We've got a simple hello world. If we run this up, we'll see what happens. It'll load sample project up. We'll put hello world out on the screen. Done. So that's our simple program. Doesn't do a lot at the moment. So when you're structuring code, if you're doing clean architecture, domain driven design, you may want to have structure to your project. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a couple of folders. Always keep your structure right as well. So let's say models. So this is how we're going to model the real world. So let's have a look. What should we model today? How about a building? We'll call it a building. So this might cover a bit of inheritance as well. There you go. It's creating a model. And we want to say add new item and house. Okay. So we've got two models. Let's make these, we'll make them always public or private. It's up to you, depending on how you want them to be accessed outside this library. Okay, so we've got a house, and a house can actually extend. So extend means take a building which might have a number of doors, then there might be something more bespoke to a house. It's a way of like modeling variations. You might have an animal, but then you might have a cat that does things differently to just an animal. And you can say that you can mark them as abstract or final if you don't want people to create just buildings in their own right. So let's have a look. Abstract class. So we don't want people creating this. So let's, and properties are a shorthand way of writing getters and setters. So let's have public int number of windows. Just going to do a get set there. And we might have public int number of floors. Let's have floors. So these are things that you would start to model based on real world situations. So what we're going to do next as well is we're going to say that inherits from building. Because we're in the same class, that's fine. So what is it that we might have behaviour on a house that we may not have on a building? So buildings like you core building blocks. So we've got two properties, number of windows, number of floors. So let's go into a house and say public. So again, this could be a function, open, and this is where you start thinking about accessibility. So what I mean by that is public methods are like if you imagine a remote control on a TV that has buttons, they're public access points into your code library. So for example, you may have other logic in your class, so a class is your structure of a building or a house that you may want to run as part of another function, but you don't want it to be open and accessible. So let's have open door. What's going to happen if we open the door? And just for now, what we're going to do is we're going to say console dot write line. I have opened the door. Okay, so this is the only difference at the moment. So properties, and the good thing about inheritance in OOP is it means you can have things shared across different child objects. So you might always want a house or a flat. So if we wanted to here, let's have a look. So if we go to a new item, let's call this a flat. Okay. Make these public. And let's do up here, let's do, again, it's got to be a building. It's technically isn't a building. This is where you get into arguments with yourself. So what we may also want to do is you can override. So if we had a method in here, if we all said that a building can open a door, so let's do public void open door. And that's just going to put nothing on there because we don't want anything happening on our abstract class. And if we go back to our house, then we can see we've got open door. Okay, yes. So what we can do is you're going to override. How's it override? Let's have a look. Okay. Oh, okay. So method, as well as denoting the class, you have to write that. Okay, so it automatically inherits it anyway. So that's from a Java day. So what we'll do is we'll just leave that as it is. Okay. So we've now got a house and a building with a method, but it doesn't do anything. But then we might have a flat that may do something different with that method. So public void open door. And this is like kind of entry points that you'll put in. So we've got three models or three classes here. And this is just our project settings. So what we're going to have on the flat is console. So it might be I have gone downstairs to open the door. And what we're going to say here is I have, and we're going to say this. And because we've inherited, we automatically get access to our base class members. Now, we haven't set these yet, but we're going to. And again, this could be done in the constructor. So let's say a number of floors. There you go. And okay, so I typed that wrong. I do apologise. So now we've got a building and we're just going to say number of floors. So let's go back to our house. Let's just say I have opened one of my, again, this means to this object, dot, number of windows. Okay. Okay. So let's go up here. Okay. So we're just going to set it slightly different. The beauty is we call the same method effectively. So you can use constructors in here. So we could set it, we could say a flat, or we could just have that there. Okay. So again, these are objects. So let's do var, autocorrect, var house equals new house. Okay, and what you can do as part of object-oriented programming is you have methods. So a method is something that is a bit of functionality that you want it to do. Properties are effectively shorthand. What I mean by properties is where you've got get and set. So historically, you would write methods that would set the number of windows, kind of like this. So you'd have your setter. So you'd have something like public void set number of windows. And you'd say int number of windows and equals this dot. And that's what you do. You'd have repetitive functions to set and then also another one for get. But properties shorthand that in that sense. You don't necessarily need this. I was taught in a time when properties weren't a thing. You could have property variables in the sense of store information. So what is a variable? So if you had a variable, that's a way of storing information in your class or in your objects. Let's go back to a program. So if we said house dot, and again you could do this, let's have 10 windows, house dot number of doors, floors, number of floors. Okay, so let's give this equals 2. And again, this is inheritance, so we'll create var flat, new flat. And you can also do it this way. So you could say number of windows could equal to house. Again, that's what you can do with this. You can get it set to the thing. So let's just say number of windows equals 4. And we're going to say number of door floors equals 1. Okay. So we now have our flat. We want to output from each of those objects. Remember, we put a method in here called open door. So why don't we give it a go? So let's call house dot open door. Okay. We're also going to call flat dot open door. So there you go. So if we run this up now, let's see what we get. We'll see what we get. We should have it so that it outputs different messages, but we'll see. Okay, there you go. You can see there that because we've used that, we've had access to the properties. So what you can see here is I've done it 2 different ways of creating the objects or setting the properties of the objects. So I've done it with longhand versus shorthand, where you just do it in closing when you initialize it. But what you can see from here is our original message up here, and within our flat, I have number of floors 1. And then of my many 10, so it knows it's got 10 floors. I've gone down the stairs to open the door. I have one. Again, so that is more quick introduction to object-oriented programming. There is lots of stuff you can do, but I just want to go over the basis. And again, you can play about with this to work out what works for you. I hope you find this video helpful. And it's just an introduction to object-oriented programming. There's so much to it. You've got a lot more stuff in there. I'll make some more videos hopefully go along with this, what we've done so far. But hopefully, what I've created here will be a building block to actually get into object-oriented programming. We may cover private methods in a future video, other types of access modifiers. When we talk about Warehouse, when you open the door, it may also call other functionality as part of this. Like I say, when you press that, that could be power button, turn on, and that might call lots of other bits and pieces a part of that. Okay, so thank you so much for watching and catch you again soon. Cheers, thank you, bye.